Drift with me over the Amazon, the lungs of our world, vibrant, green, alive. Now let us turn the clock back, strip away the trees, strip away the warmth. We are traveling to the Cryogenian period, 700 million years before today. This is the equator, but there is no rainforest here, only the endless white. You are standing on a planet that has died. Welcome to Snowball Earth. Before the ice, there was Rodinia, a supercontinent straddling the equator, barren, rock. It began with rain. Massive tropical storms lashed these ancient rocks for millions of years. This was a chemical trap. The rain stripped carbon dioxide from the sky, locking it into stone. Earth lost its blanket. With no carbon to trap the heat, the planet began to shivering. The poles seized first. Caps of ice expanded, marching relentlessly toward the equator. This is the albedo effect. Dark oceans absorb heat. White ice reflects it away. The more ice formed, the more sunlight was reflected. The Earth cooled faster, a fatal loop. The ice became unstoppable. It crossed the temperate zones. It devoured the tropics. At the equator, the jaws snapped shut. The ocean was sealed beneath a mile-thick lid. The transformation was complete. Earth was no longer a blue marble. It was a white tomb. The hydrological cycle stopped. No water evaporated, no rain fell. The sky became a desert. Temperatures plummeted to negative 50 degrees Celsius, colder than the surface of Mars. Beneath the ice, the continents were being ground into dust, a slow geological pulverization. But what of life? Where did the microscopic ancestors of humanity go when the world died? They went deep, into the crushing dark, waiting for a sun that might never return. Here in the abyss, volcanic vents provided the only warmth left on the entire planet. Life huddled around these chemical fires, a planetary refugee camp clinging to existence. Above them, a ceiling of ice blocked the sky. They were trapped in a dark aquarium. But some scientists argue the freeze wasn't total. They call it the slush ball theory. Small pockets of open water may have persisted near the equator, oases in the ice desert. This lasted for 50 million years, a frozen eternity. Time itself seemed to freeze. Without waves or currents, the oceans grew stagnant. Oxygen levels crashed. The water turned toxic. Life was not evolving. It was barely surviving. Evolution held its breath. The planet was a tomb. It seemed nothing could break the lock of the ice. But deep beneath the frozen surface, the heart of the Earth was still beating. Plate tectonics do not stop for ice. The continents were drifting apart. Pressure was building. The Earth was preparing to scream. The great volcanic province was waking up. The ice had sealed the heat in. And then the seal broke. The end of the snowball began with fire. The ice could stop the ocean, but it could not stop the Earth's internal fire. For millions of years, volcanoes pumped carbon dioxide into the crystal-clear atmosphere. In a normal world, rain washes this carbon out of the air, but there was no rain. The carbon had nowhere to go. It built up. layer upon invisible layer. Concentrations rose to 10%, 300 times higher than the air you breathe today. Soot settled on the ice. The pristine mirror became dirty. It stopped reflecting. It started absorbing. The trap was sprung. The heat was locked in. The great melt began. The temperature swing was violent, from -50 to +50 degrees in a geological blink. Water trapped for eons broke free. It didn't just flow, it tore the landscape apart. Global sea levels rose by hundreds of meters. The pressure on the crust shifted wildly. Evaporation returned with a vengeance. The dry sky was suddenly drowning in moisture. The rain was caustic. Carbonic acid poured from the sky, dissolving the mountains instantly. This acid rain scrubbed the continents. It turned solid rock into a slurry of nutrients. Hot air collided with the remaining ice. This birthed the hyper-hurricanes. Wind speeds defied modern classification. Storms that could scour a continent down to the bedrock. The ocean was whipped into a frenzy. The stagnation was broken by brute force. These storms acted as a planetary mixer, driving oxygen deep into the dead abyss. As the waters receded, they left a gift: layers of carbonate rock capping the glacial debris. The melting glaciers had ground the mountains into dust. Now, that dust entered the sea. Phosphorus, the chemical backbone of DNA, a massive fertilizer bomb dropped into the ocean. Cyanobacteria feasted. Their populations exploded in the warm, nutrient-rich waters.
A massive algal bloom.
They exhaled. Oxygen levels in the atmosphere spiked. The air became breathable. The storm had passed. The ice was gone. The stage was set for the impossible. To build a body, you need glue. You need a protein called collagen. Collagen requires immense amounts of oxygen to synthesize. Before the melt, it was impossible. Now, cells could bind. They could specialize. They could build a monster. Welcome to the Ediacaran period. The experiment of complex life begins. They looked like plants, but they were animals, rooted in the darkness, now reaching for the light. Creatures began to move, to graze, to interact with their world. The Garden of Ediacara, a peaceful kingdom. No predators, no teeth, just life. They grew large, some flat as a mat, absorbing the rich soup of the ocean through their skin. But the peace would not last. Evolution was sharpening its knives. New forms appeared: bilateral symmetry, heads, tails, direction. The soft-bodied giants were blind to the future coming for them. Life began to dig, to hide. The era of the hunter was approaching. The snowball created the playground, but the next phase would require armor. For decades, we didn't know what these were. Failed experiments of nature? Or were they the brave pioneers who claimed the world after the ice retreated? Catastrophe drives innovation. The ice forced life to get creative. The fuse was lit. Then something looked back. For the first time in history, life developed sight. The water was rich in calcium from the dissolved mountains. Life used it to build armor. The garden was gone. The war had begun. Hunter and hunted entered an arms race. This was the Cambrian explosion. In a geological heartbeat, all modern animal plans appeared. The chaos of the melt drove the chaos of evolution. Stress forced innovation. The soft giants of the Ediacaran could not compete. They vanished into the fossil record. The substrate revolution. Burrowing animals destroyed the ancient mats, changing the ocean floor forever. The Snowball Earth had wiped the slate clean. The Cambrian life wrote a new story. But how do we know this happened? The evidence is written in stone in Namibia. Here, the skeleton coast strips the earth bare. The pages of history are open. This is the smoking gun, a lonely boulder sitting where it shouldn't be. It is a drop stone, a rock rafted by ice, then dropped into marine mud as the ice melted. The mud layers bend beneath it, proof of impact, proof of ice in the ocean. But ice happens at the poles. How do we know this ice was at the equator? Paleomagnetism. When these rocks formed, the magnetic grains aligned with Earth's field. The magnetic signature is undeniable. These glaciers were at sea level, at the equator. Imagine glaciers in the Maldives. That is the reality the rocks reveal. There is a line in the rock, a knife-edge boundary between two worlds. Below, glacial debris. Immediately above, tropical limestone. No transition, just a sudden switch. This is the Cap Carbonate. It proves the shift from icehouse to greenhouse was instantaneous. These rocks formed fast. The ocean dumped its carbonate load in a planetary frenzy. We find these scars on every continent: Australia, North America, Africa. The catastrophe was global. No corner of the Earth was spared the freeze. And yet, our ancestors survived. They endured 50 million years of darkness. The DNA within you right now passed through that bottleneck. You are a survivor of the cold. The massive blooms died and sank. They buried organic carbon deep in the mud. This burial tipped the scales. It allowed oxygen to build up to modern levels. The air you breathe is a gift from the algae that thrived in the post-snowball melt. The Snowball Earth didn't just freeze the planet. It terraformed it for us. We think of Earth as stable, a Goldilocks planet. Not too hot, not too cold. But Earth is a wild beast. It swings between extremes. We are living in a brief pause. Today, the ice is retreating again, but this time the cause is not volcanoes. We are turning the dial. We are mimicking the volcanoes that melted the world. Geology is not the past. It is a process, and we are now the geological force. The rocks warn us. The climate is a pendulum. Push it too hard, and it breaks. 700 million years ago, the cycle nearly ended. The heartbeat nearly stopped. But the thaw came, and with it, the monsters, and then the mines. We are the result of that catastrophe. Chaos is our creator. The snowball was not a tomb. It was an incubator. The steel in your car, The beams in your skyscrapers, they were born in the freeze. When the ocean stagnated under the ice, iron dissolved in the water, waiting. When the oxygen returned, the iron rusted. It fell to the seafloor in massive sheets. Today, we mine these ancient seafloors. The Snowball Earth built the foundations of the modern world. Our civilization is built on the rust of a suffocated ocean. We harvest the catastrophe. Earth is not unique in its freezing. Look at our neighbors. Mars froze and never recovered. It lacked the volcanoes to break the ice lock. Venus boiled. It experienced the runaway greenhouse effect that Earth narrowly escaped. Only Earth walked the tightrope, freezing, then thawing, balancing on the edge of oblivion. Our thermostat is the carbon cycle, a slow geological machine that regulates the temperature. But now, the thermostat is being tampered with, not by volcanoes, but by us. We are releasing the same gas that ended the snowball, but we are doing it faster. We are technically in an ice age right now. We have polar caps, but they are fading. The rocks teach us that stability is an illusion. The climate is a beast that can wake up. From the white wasteland, to the volcanic fire, to the explosion of life. 700 million years ago, our planet was a dead, white ball drifting in the dark. It should have stayed dead, but the fire beneath the ice saved us. We are the children of the thaw, existing only because the ice eventually broke. The earth freezes, the earth burns, and in the middle, life finds a way. I am the timeless observer, and this is our history.